Good evening. How are you all doing? My name's Liam, and before we get started tonight, I just want to answer that one question that you've all got. I can see it in all of your eyes as you sat there looking up at me. I just want to say yes, I did eat all the pies. Yes, I was a fat kid, I'm a fat man, I'm probably going to be a fat old git, you know, that's just how it goes. I actually used to get bullied when I was at school because of my weight. Oh, thank you. I say used to. Every time I walk past a primary school these days, I still get a rousing chorus of "Hey fatty fat fat," and that's just the teachers. See, there's a lot of things going on in schools these days about obesity and kids being overweight, like Jamie Oliver's school dinners and shit. But my favourite thing that's been introduced recently is if the teachers at your child's school think that your child is putting on a bit of weight, they can write to you and tell you about it. How can you imagine that? You come downstairs one morning, flip the kettle on, walk over to the letterbox and open up your letter. Dear Mr. Brown, we here at your son's school feel that your son is putting on a bit of weight. If you do not stop feeding him soon, he'll become a fat fuck before you know it, and you'll be considered a twat. So imagine how much of a kick to the crotch that would be. Not only have you just been told that your son is fat, you've been called a twat before you've even had your coffee. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but a few months ago the government released this huge list, and on this list were things like pizzas and burgers and chips, and basically all the good things that you like to eat. And the best thing about this list, apart from the fact that it's probably the greatest menu ever crafted by human hands, is the fact that if you eat any of these foods on this list, the government say you're going to die. No, you're not going to put on a few pounds and get a bit more fit. No, you're going to die. Now I've been thinking about this. It's not as if the food that you swallow is suddenly going to sprout arms and start beating the shit out of your kidneys. So it's led me to two conclusions. One, they're either poisoning all the food that they're sending out, or two, they're training assassins to take out anyone they see eating bacon sandwiches. Can you imagine how that would look on a death certificate? Cause of death, bacon sandwich. That would lead future generations to think that we're either all really stupid, or we had giant carnivorous bacon sandwiches roaming the streets, snatching children from playgrounds. Now I admit that would be an awesome movie, but that is not how I want my grandchildren to think I live. And see, that's if I even get any grandchildren. Because I'm sure we've all heard this stuff about global warming. It's been in the news for the past few years now. And a lot of people say that a lot of global warming is to do with the methane that all the cows are producing, like going up into the atmosphere. But I think fat people help here as well. If you think about it, if there were more fat people, there'd be more demand for things like burgers and sausages and steaks, so there'd be less cows. But then again, there'd be more fat people. And they smell just as bad. And they move around a lot more. And let's face it, no one wants to be trapped in an elevator with a fat person who's too large to wash themselves properly. That cannot be nice for anyone. Right, sure, if you think about it, if this fat community realised that they had the power to decide whether this world lived or died, they would become some sort of terrorist. Not your everyday run-of-the-mill hijack a plane terrorist. So there's only two things that can come from asking a fat person to hijack a plane. One, they're either going to be too big to get in the seat, so they won't get on the plane in the first place, or two, they're not going to like the food that they're serving in the on-flight meal. Didn't I send you to hijack a plane this morning? Yeah, you did. So why aren't you dead? I don't like lasagna. You'll probably have to pack him a lunch or something. Before I go, I just want to leave you with a quick story. I was walking down the street the other day, and this guy comes over to me and pokes me in the chest and says, "You're fat." I looked myself up and down and said, "Fuck me, you're right." He says, "I'm a smoker." I had no idea where I was going with this, but it looked hard, so I didn't question him about it. He says, "How come I'm not allowed to smoke inside anymore, but you're still allowed to eat inside?" So I went into a long, detailed discussion of how by smoking, he's not only endangering himself, but the health of all those around him. And by eating, I'm only putting my own health at risk. And he looked at me a bit bemused, and I think he was a bit dim, you know. And he looked at me for a few seconds, then there was a big glint in his eye. I thought, yes, he's got it. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? He fucking hit me.